February 14, 1943. Dawn breaks over the dusty valleys of Kasserine Pass, Tunisia. Inside the cramped turret of a Panzer IV, Lieutenant Hans Becker wipes sweat from his brow, the metallic tang of gun oil mixing with the acrid smoke drifting from distant artillery. His loader, Gefreiter Karl Mahler, peers through the periscope, heart pounding as the first silhouettes emerge from the haze, boxy, unfamiliar shapes rumbling across the ochre sand. "Amerikaner," Mahler mutters, a smirk curling his lip. "Look at those tin cans. They'll brew up like fireworks." The air vibrates with the growl of engines, German 88mm guns barking in the distance, shattering the morning calm. Becker adjusts his headset, voice steady over the intercom, target at 800 meters. Load he. The crew moves like a well-oiled machine, veterans of Poland, France, and the endless Russian steppes. They've seen British Matildas and Valentines crumple under their fire, Soviet T-34s outmaneuvered in the snow. Now, these new arrivals from across the Atlantic, the M4 Shermans, lumber forward, their 75mm guns swiveling like hesitant predators. You can almost hear the derisive laughter echoing in the Panzer's hull as the first Sherman takes a hit. Flames erupt from its thin side armor, the turret popping like a champagne cork. "Ronson!" shouts the gunner, invoking the lighter that lights first time, every time. The nickname sticks, born from bitter humor in the North African heat. Becker's crew watches as more Shermans advance, only to be picked off one by one. The Americans are green, their tactics raw, charging headlong into kill zones set by Rommel's Afrika Korps. "Undergunned weaklings," Becker scoffs, reloading for the next volley. One shot from our KWK-40, and they're scrap. As the sun climbs higher, the battlefield turns into a graveyard of burning hulks. Black smoke billows skyward, carrying the screams of trapped crews. Muller counts the kills. 5, 6, 7. The Sherman's high silhouette makes them easy targets, their gasoline engines igniting spectacularly. Word spreads through the German lines, wireless chatter filled with mockery. "The Yankees build toys," one Oberfeldwebel transmits. "We'll send them back to Detroit in body bags." Even Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox himself, notes in his diary the Sherman's vulnerabilities: lightly armored flanks, a tendency to bog down in soft sand. His panzers, battle-hardened and crewed by elites, seem invincible. But amid the triumph, a subtle unease creeps in. Becker spots something odd through the dust, a fresh wave of Shermans cresting the ridge, identical to the ones just destroyed. How many do they have? The thought flickers, then fades as another target presents itself. The crew fires, scores another kill. Victory feels assured, the Americans retreating in disarray. Yet, in the quiet lulls between barrages, Becker wonders about those factories across the ocean, churning out machines like sausages. Rumors from intelligence briefings whisper of American industrial might, but here in the desert, it's easy to dismiss. "Let them come," he thinks. "We'll burn them all." The day drags on, the heat inside the tank stifling, like an oven baking the men's resolve. Muller passes around canteens of tepid water, joking about American Hollywood stars driving these movie props. The laughter is forced now, edged with fatigue. As dusk falls, the Germans consolidate their positions, tallying the wreckage. Dozens of Shermans lie smoldering, their crews scattered or captured. Becker leans against the turret, lighting a cigarette, exhaling smoke that mingles with the dying fires. "Pathetic," he murmurs. But deep down, a seed of doubt plants itself. What if this is just the beginning? The Kasserine debacle sends shockwaves through Allied command. General Dwight D. Eisenhower demands reforms, training intensifies. Back in Berlin, Heinz Guderian, the architect of Blitzkrieg, reviews reports with a raised eyebrow. The Sherman is no match one-on-one, he agrees. But production figures from neutral sources trickle in, thousands rolling off assembly lines monthly. Guderian shakes his head. Germany's factories struggle under Allied bombs, crews irreplaceable after years of war. Still, the mockery persists in the ranks. "Let the Amos waste their steel," a Hauptmann quips at a briefing. "We'll outfight them." Night envelopes the pass, stars piercing the sky like distant artillery. Becker's crew hunkers down, repairing tracks and cleaning barrels. Whispers of reinforcement circulate, more panzers en route. Confidence swells again. But as Becker drifts to sleep, The image of those endless Shermans haunts him. How many more will come? The question lingers, unanswered, pulling at the edges of their arrogance. June 6, 1944. 0630 hours. The Normandy coast churns under a gray, angry sky. Salt spray lashes the faces of American soldiers crammed into Higgins boats, the roar of naval guns thundering overhead like an endless storm. Below the waves, in the belly of landing ships, rows of M4 Shermans sit chained to decks, engines idling, exhaust fumes thick in the humid air. Sergeant Joe Esposito, a tank commander from Brooklyn, grips the turret ring of his Sherman named Brooklyn Belle, his knuckles white. The ramp drops. Icy water surges in. The tank lurches forward, plunging into the surf. You can taste the fear, diesel, cordite, and vomit mixing in the confined space. Esposito's driver guns the radial engine, tracks biting into the seabed as the Sherman swims ashore with its duplex drive canvas skirt inflated like a bizarre balloon. Bullets ping off the hull. German MG-42s chatter from the bluffs, tracers stitching red lines across the beach. One DD Sherman beside them founders, water pouring in, crew scrambling out only to be cut down. But Esposito's tank makes it. Tracks grip sand. The skirt collapses. They rumble up Omaha Beach, past burning comrades, past bodies floating in the shallows. On the Atlantic Wall, Oberleutnant Fritz Lang, commanding a Panzer IV of the 21st Panzer Division, peers through binoculars from a concrete bunker near Colleville-sur-Mer. More of them, he mutters to his gunner. Endless. The beach is a chaos of steel, hundreds of Shermans disgorging from landing craft, some wading directly ashore with deep-water fording kits. Lang's crew has fought since Africa. They know the Sherman inside out. 75mm gun adequate but outranged by their own 75mm KWK-40, armor thin enough for a clean kill at 1,000 meters. Pick the leaders, Lang orders calmly. The first shot rings out. A Sherman 300 meters below erupts in flame, its ammunition cooking off in secondary explosions. Yet for every Sherman that brews up, 2 more crest the shingle. Then 3. American crews, many seeing combat for the first time, press forward with raw determination. Naval gunfire pounds the German positions. Destroyers steam dangerously close, 5-inch shells screaming overhead. Lang's loader slams another round home. Another kill. But the radio crackles with urgent calls, flanks threatened, infantry pulling back. Where are they all coming from? The driver asks, voice cracking. Lang has no answer. By midday, the beaches are secured. Wrecked Shermans litter the sand. Dozens lost to mines, 88s, and hidden panzers, but the tide of men and machines is unstoppable. In the hedgerows beyond, American tankers push inland. Esposito's platoon links up with infantry, bocage country swallowing them in green walls and sudden ambushes. A hidden Stu G3 knocks out the lead tank. Flames. Screams. But the others maneuver, flanking, pouring fire until the assault gun burns. Word races through German command posts. General Fritz Bayerlein of the Panzer Lehr Division, a veteran of every front, receives frantic reports. American medium tanks everywhere, supported by artillery that never seems to stop. They replace losses overnight. 1 battalion commander radios. Bayerlein pores over maps in a chateau cellar, cigarette burning low. Intelligence estimates spoke of 5,000 Shermans in England. Now they are here, in strength unimaginable. Back in the fatherland, factories strain. Allied bombers hammer assembly plants daily. A single raid on Friedrichshafen destroys half the month's Panther output. Crew training is curtailed. New drivers barely know their machines before shipping out. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Detroit's Willow Run plant hums around the clock. Women in overalls, Rosie the Riveter incarnate, weld hulls, mount turrets. 1 Sherman completes every few minutes. Conveyors never stop. The arsenal of democracy lives up to its name. In Normandy, the mockery begins to fade. A captured German tanker, hands trembling, tells American interrogators, "Your tanks are not good. But you have so many. When we kill 5, 10 arrive the next day." Esposito, cleaning his gun barrel in a muddy orchard, overhears the translation and laughs bitterly. "Yeah, tell him we don't like dying either. But the numbers are doing their work." German crews, irreplaceable after years of attrition, feel the pressure mount. July drags into August. The breakout at St. Lo. Cobra unleashes hell. Thousands of bombers carpet the front. Panzer Lehr is nearly annihilated. Bayerlein escapes with a handful of tanks, reporting to Rommel, the enemy has overwhelming material superiority. Rommel, soon sidelined by injury and conspiracy, can only nod grimly. As summer wanes, the Allies surge across France. Shermans, upgraded now with 76mm guns and wet stowage to reduce fires, roll in endless columns. German veterans look at each fresh wave with growing dread. The tank itself, still no Tiger, but the factories behind it, unstoppable. And in the east, the Red Army stirs with its own Lend-Lease Shermans. The Noose tightens. December 16, 1944. 0530 hours. The Ardennes forest lies silent under a thick blanket of snow, the air so cold it burns the lungs. In a frozen assembly area near Losheim, Hauptmann Otto Richter, commander of a King Tiger company in the 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion, stamps his boots against the biting frost. His massive 70-ton beasts, PZK-PFW-6 Tiger II, sit camouflaged under white sheets, engines warming with a deep, guttural rumble. Richter's breath fogs the air as he briefs his crews. Today we break through. The Amos are weak here, stretched thin. We'll drive to the Meuse in days. You can feel the surge of renewed hope in the German lines. After the disasters of Normandy and Falaise, Hitler's surprise offensive, Wacht am Rhein, promises to split the Allies and seize Antwerp. Elite units like Kampfgruppe Paper roll forward with Tigers, Panthers, and veteran crews who still believe in German steel. Richter's men are among the best. 5 kills rings painted on barrels, Africa and Eastern Front scars worn like badges. They've heard the reports, American units green, resting, celebrating Christmas early. Perfect for a lightning thrust. The attack erupts in fog and darkness. Artillery crashes down. SS Panzer Grenadiers surge ahead. Richter's King Tigers lumber through narrow forest trails, tracks crunching snow, crushing frozen trees like matchsticks. American outposts are overwhelmed in minutes. GIs in thin overcoats stumble from foxholes, hands raised. A column of Shermans from the 7th Armored Division appears suddenly on a crossroads near Lanzerath. Richter's lead Tiger fires once. The 88mm KWK 43 round punches clean through the first Sherman at 1,500 meters. It explodes spectacularly, lighting the dawn. The second, third, fourth follow in quick succession. Like target practice, the gunner laughs over the intercom. Richter allows himself a tight smile. The old superiority returns. See, the Tommy Cooker still burns beautifully. For the first 3 days, the offensive roars forward. Paper's spearhead races west, leaving trails of burning Shermans. At Stavelot, at Trois-Ponts, wherever American armor tries to stem the tide, German gunners pick them off with contemptuous ease. A single Panther claims 12 Shermans in one afternoon near Malmedy. Radio traffic crackles with triumphant reports, enemy tanks inferior, crews fleeing. Even the Führer headquarters believes victory is near. But cracks appear by December 19th. The fog lifts. Allied fighter bombers, J-bows, swarm the skies like angry hornets. P-47 Thunderbolts strafe supply columns, turning trucks into infernos. Fuel shortages bite hard. Richter's company, down to a handful of rounds after days of constant action, halts outside Stumont. American resistance stiffens. Task forces with names like Collins and Rose form blocking positions. And then the Shermans come, not in cautious platoons, but in dozens, then scores. Sergeant Joe Esposito, now a battle-hardened veteran after Normandy and the push across France, commands a 76mm armed Sherman jumbo leading a column of the 3rd Armored Division near Haughton. His crew spots Richter's immobilized King Tiger through bare trees. "Big bastard at 11 o'clock, the gunner calls. Esposito hesitates. One-on-one, they're dead. But they're not alone. 12 Shermans fan out, flanking through the snow. Artillery spotters call in coordinates. 155mm shells howl down, churning earth around the Tiger. Richter's crew fires desperately. 2 Shermans brew up, but the rest close the range, pumping round after round into tracks and rear armor. The King Tiger slews, immobilized. A final phosphorus round sets it ablaze. Richter and one crewman escape on foot, faces blackened, pride shattered. Across the bulge, the pattern repeats. German spearheads outrun their infantry, fuel, and ammunition. Surrounded pockets fight heroically, but American reinforcements pour in endlessly. The 82nd Airborne digs in at St. Vith. Patton's Third Army pivots north in a feat of logistics that stuns German commanders. And everywhere, Shermans, thousands of them, fresh from depots in Liège and Spa, roll forward in relentless waves. Some are the new Easy 8s with horizontal volute suspension, faster and more reliable in the mud. Others mount 105mm howitzers for close support. Crews use tactics honed in months of hard fighting. Flank, overwhelm, never fight fair. By Christmas Eve, the offensive stalls. Bastogne holds. Paper's Kampfgruppe is trapped and annihilated. Richter, now on foot with scattered survivors, trudges eastward through knee-deep snow. He passes a field littered with wrecked panzers, irreplaceable tigers and panthers, their crews dead or captured. In the distance, American columns thunder past, endless olive-drab Shermans, trucks, half-tracks. A captured comrade whispers to him in a holding pen, "They don't even bother repairing some. They just bring new ones." In Berlin, Heinz Guderian storms into a map room at the OKH, slamming down intelligence summaries. "Gentlemen," he thunders to stone-faced generals, "the real enemy is not the Sherman tank. It is the factory behind it, and the fleet of ships that brings another army every month." His words fall on deaf ears. Hitler demands the offensive continue. But the men at the front know better. A panzer ace with 30 kills writes home, "We destroy 5, 10, 20. The next morning there are 30 more. Our best crews die. Theirs are replaced by fresh boys who learn quickly." The snow falls heavier now, covering the wreckage. German veterans stare at the horizon, where engine noise never stops. The mockery of 1943 feels like another lifetime. And in the ruins of their certainty, a terrible realization takes root. The war has become a contest not of quality, but of quantity, and quantity has a quality all its own. April 12, 1945. Dawn over the Elbe River, near Tangemund, Germany. The air hangs heavy with spring damp and the stench of decay, burnt rubber, cordite, rotting flesh. Lieutenant Hans Becker, older now, face gaunt, eyes hollow after 2 years of retreat, sits atop his battered Panther Osv. G, the last operational tank in his decimated company. The once proud camouflage paint is chipped and mud-caked, 5 kill rings faded on the barrel. Around him, the remnants of the 12th Army huddle in makeshift positions. Boys barely shaved, old men from the Volkssturm, a handful of veterans like himself. Across the river, faint engine noise grows into a low thunder. You can sense the exhaustion in every breath. Becker lights his last cigarette with trembling fingers, scanning the mist-shrouded east bank through binoculars. The olive-drab shapes emerge. Dozens, then hundreds of Shermans, M4A3 E8 Easy 8s mostly, their wide tracks chewing the soft earth effortlessly. Supporting them are Pershings now, heavier and better armed, but it's the sheer volume that freezes the blood. Columns stretch back as far as the eye can see, flanked by trucks, half-tracks, engineers bridging the river under smoke screens. American artillery opens up, time-on-target barges that walk destruction across German lines with surgical cruelty. Becker's radio crackles weakly, "Enemy armor crossing Sector 7, request immediate support." Laughter, bitter and broken, echoes from nearby foxholes. Support. There is none. The Luftwaffe is a memory. Fuel reserves measure in liters, not tons. Ammunition is counted round by round. The first Shermans hit the west bank at 0800. Becker's Panther fires from concealed hull-down position. 88mm round slams into the lead Easy 8, brewing it up instantly. Cheers rise from his crew, fleeting and desperate. But then the response. 20 Shermans fan out, 76mm guns traversing. High explosive shells churn the ground. One track on Becker's Panther snaps under a near miss. Immobilized. "Bail out," he screams. They tumble into a ditch as their tank erupts, ammunition cooking off in a chain of blasts that lights the morning sky. Running now, Becker links up with scattered infantry near a shattered village. Through the smoke, he watches the tide roll forward. American crews, some veterans like Sergeant Esposito, now a first lieutenant with a Silver Star, dismount briefly to share cigarettes with awestruck Soviet allies approaching from the east. The link-up at the Elbe is moments away. German soldiers drop rifles, hands raised. Some weep openly. In the ruins of Berlin, Heinz Guderian, long dismissed from command, reads final situation reports in a dimly lit bunker. Production tables stare back accusingly. Germany built roughly 6,000 Panthers and 1,300 Tigers total across the entire war. The United States alone produced over 49,000 Shermans. 49,000. Replaceable machines crewed by men who could be trained in months, shipped across an ocean untouched by war. Guderian closes the folder, whispers to an aide, "We were not defeated by the Sherman. We were defeated by Detroit, Willow Run, and the endless convoys that fed it." Back on the Elbe, Becker surrenders to a young American tanker who offers him a Hershey bar. The German stares at the Sherman behind the GI, scratched, patched, but running. "Another one. Always another one. You have so many," Becker says in halting English. The American shrugs. "Yeah. And you guys made us learn how to use them right." As the sun climbs higher, the battlefield falls silent except for the ceaseless rumble of engines moving east. Wrecked German heavies, once feared as unbeatable, dot the landscape like broken monuments. Shermans roll past them without slowing, crews waving to infantry riding on the rear decks. The mockery of Kasserine Pass is ancient history now, buried under layers of snow, mud, and graves. The war in Europe ends 3 weeks later. In the aftermath, Allied investigators tour captured factories. Half-finished King Tigers abandoned on assembly lines, tools still in place. Workers gone to the front or the grave. Across the ocean, American plants begin retooling for peacetime. Tractors, cars, refrigerators. The same lines that once turned out a Sherman every few minutes now promise prosperity. German veterans, in prisoner camps or rebuilding shattered lives, gather around campfires years later and speak not of the Tiger's invincibility or the Panther's sloping armor. They speak of the day the horizon filled with Shermans and never emptied. Of how quantity, relentless and remorseless, became its own kind of quality. And in the quiet moments, they remember the bitter truth. The tank they once laughed at didn't need to be the best. It only needed to be there tomorrow. ND. May 8, 1945. Victory in Europe Day. The ruins of Berlin smolder under a drizzly spring sky. In a makeshift POW cage outside the city, Lieutenant Hans Becker sits on an ammunition crate, staring at the muddy ground between his boots. Around him, thousands of German soldiers, gray-faced, defeated, wait for processing. A column of American vehicles rumbles past the wire. Jeeps, trucks, and yes, Shermans. Dozens of them, engines idling smoothly, crews lounging on turrets with cigarettes dangling, laughing about going home. One tanker spots Becker's faded Panzer jacket insignia and calls out in broken German, "Hey, Panther Man! Good tank. Too bad you didn't have more, huh?" Becker doesn't answer. He just watches the endless olive-drab river flow by. The mockery is gone now, replaced by something quieter. Resignation. Even respect. You can almost taste the irony in the air, thick, metallic, like gun smoke that never quite clears. Across Europe, the battlefields cool. In Normandy orchards, Ardennes forests, along the Rhine and Elbe, rusted hulks mark the path of the war. Tigers sit belly up in ditches, their thick armor cracked open by multiple hits from lesser guns. Panthers lie abandoned, fuel tanks dry. And everywhere, Shermans, some burned out, most simply parked, waiting for salvage crews or new crews heading east to finish the Pacific War. In Detroit, the Willow Run plant shuts down its tank line almost overnight. The same women who welded turrets now rivet automobile bodies. The conveyor belts never stop, they just change what they carry. By 1946, the arsenal of democracy becomes the engine of suburbia. Veterans buy tract houses with GI loans, drive Chevrolets built on the same tools that once made radial engines for Shermans. German veterans return home, if they have homes left, to a nation in rubble. In quiet beer halls years later, they gather and talk. Not about the invincibility of their machines. Not about the supposed inferiority of the enemy. They talk about the day the horizon filled with American tanks and never emptied again. "We would knock out 10, one former Tiger commander says, voice low, and 20 would appear the next morning. Fresh paint, fresh crews. It wasn't courage that beat us in the end. It was time. They had more time than we did. Heinz Guderian, living quietly in post-war captivity before release, writes his memoirs. In Panzer Leader, he is blunt. The Sherman was not a superior tank, but the Americans produced it in such overwhelming numbers and replaced losses so quickly that quantity became a decisive factor. We could not match that. No one could. American tankers tell a different story. Sergeant, now civilian, Joe Esposito works a factory job in Brooklyn, raises kids, coaches Little League. When asked about the Sherman, he shrugs. It got us there. Got us home. That's all a tank has to do. His buddies nod. They remember the upgrades, the 76mm gun, wet stowage, the jumbo assault tanks with extra armor. They remember learning to fight in packs, using speed and numbers, calling in artillery and air support that German crews could only dream of. The Sherman wasn't the best tank on the battlefield, but it was the right tank for the war America fought. Historians argue for decades. Some call the Sherman mediocre, point to kill ratios favoring German tanks in one-on-one engagements. Others point to the final scoreboard, the Reich in ashes, the Allies in Berlin. The numbers speak clearly. 49,234 Shermans built, 6,000 Panthers, 1,347 Tigers. The math is merciless. In museums today, restored examples sit side by side. A sleek Panther at Bovington, a Tiger at Saumur. Shermans everywhere, reliable, unpretentious, numerous. Visitors walk past, read the plaques, and pause longest at the simple American medium tank. Not because it was the finest, but because it was there, day after day, until the job was done. And in the end, that was enough. ND.